All right, welcome to week 4 of the Belief Hero. Super excited to have everybody here. Thanks for joining. And oh my gosh, we got all kinds of great content this week. We had a blast with content this week. We covered defeating the takers. We covered affirmation versus execution. We covered you pay the bill, nobody else. Oh man, that was a great one. I love that one. Let's see, what else do we cover this week? Reinvention. We started that. We're going to have a whole week of that coming up. Small steps and scared versus fearful. I am super stoked to get into this stuff and get started. So with that, let's check it out here. Awesome. 2 people joining. Shoot me a message in the text in the chat there, and we'll go get started. Thanks for joining us. So this is a weekly recap. This is our Be Bold Hour. So what this is, if you're just tuning in for the first time, I preload my content that we're going to talk about tonight. Rather than talking about it tonight and then doing a whole bunch of reels and a whole bunch of stuff about it, I start tomorrow with all the shorts and the reels, Instagram and YouTube. They're the same thing. They're just uploaded in both places because people come from different places. They're kind of plugged in their own place. And those daily reels, there's 2 a day, all are kind of short little blips to this main event on Thursday, our Be Bold Live. And so right now, this is our first, we're just starting the channel. We're 4 weeks in, which is great, but we have some fun stuff coming. Friday nights, Kara's going to start joining us. We're going to have a friends and family Friday, which is going to be awesome. And we're also going to have, which I'm super excited about, the actual launch of the real podcast, which is our Hero Hour to go with, obviously, the Belief Hero. So we got our Be Bold Hour on Thursdays where we recap all of our content. The Be Bold Hour is going to be the podcast, and it is a podcast we'll do once a week, and I'll have different guests on and just different heroes in my life, etc., and heroes that I just encounter and get on the show. So we have a lot of great content. We're super excited. So let's dive into this. Okay, so our first content was villains this week, and I don't know if we've really flushed out what villains are yet at the Belief Hero, but if you remember, if you watch the introduction video of villains, belief villains are all the internal and external obstacles that we face. So some of them are placed on us against our will. Some of them are placed in our brains. We do it on purpose because we just sometimes have to throw obstacles our way. Other times, even the internal ones are thrown there by other people. But it's just a way of describing, hey, I need to get past that. I gotta work past that. And when we kind of label them villains, it kind of goes, okay, I can defeat that. I can beat that. I can overcome that. And so these villains that we talk about first off of the week are the takers. And so that's kind of my Jamesism, if you want, for the people that are just kind of there to rob your joy. Takers they're the ones that just kind of need the affirmation. Like they'll rob your joy for their own affirmation. It's kind of borderline narcissistic type behavior, right? And so, takers will suck the joy out of your life in a lot of ways. And we have to be careful how we interact with takers. And one of the tips that I alluded to this week was, not putting yourself into a context with them where you're seeking approval from them, because when you do that, they're just going to rob your joy, right? And so a taker, you kind of buffer that personality, if you will, with a really strong posture. And the posture that I talked about were kind of execution type statements. I am doing this. I've gotten good advice. This is what I'm doing. I'm excited about this part. And if you entertain them long enough, and I said this in the short, if you entertain them long enough, they're going to find a way to kind of undermine your joy, because they need that. The excitement that you have for whatever you're sharing, they need that to be about them. And so it's not always possible that you can share with these people. Sometimes I've encountered coaching people and they're kind of a chicken list type person. They have that family member or that close friend that always kind of caboodles anything they want to do. And so the idea in this is we're building this early posture of belief because, hey, I decided I want to go off and I want to have a canoe business in Alaska. And somebody's like, well, you can't even swim. You can't do this. They're throwing up all these impossibilities for you being successful, correct? And they're not absolutes. They're not real. They haven't happened yet. And so when you posture yourself with a taker to where you don't allow them to have the interaction, it kind of shuts them down. And that is really the best way to handle it. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to sacrifice belief. You don't want to pay that bill out of your belief by giving them that in, but you also don't want to be combative. You just kind of like skip over it. And there's probably plenty of other things to talk about with the person. Mostly I would suggest not even bringing it up. But if it slips out, or they're like, hey, I saw your post on social media, what are you doing? And they kind of bring it up. Then you've got to buffer that, push back with a strong posture. And it might even be the point where you just have to say, look, I'm excited for this. And what I need you to do is I just need you to be excited for me, with me. And I appreciate it, and end it like that. And so we just need to buffer takers with a strong, like I said, strong posture. It's not always easy to do, but that is the best way to do it, where A, you don't get your joy and your excitement, your belief robbed, and you don't be combative, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to add strife to things. So super fun beginning discussion on villains. That's a great external villain. Last week we talked about the watchers, same kind of thing. The people that watch you from afar and try to rob your joy and silent judgment. Takers are the ones that get a little verbal with it. They have usually a little bit of a foothold, so they think they have an authority pedestal to kind of say, hey, well, you always do this, or you never do that. I think I said in the reel that they take through critique, silence, judgment, those kinds of things. But the other thing is, they also get into like kind of one-upping you. They kind of one-up things you did. Oh, I know I did that too. Oh, I've done something like that. I've already tried that. I've already done that. Or they want to give you a complete history of not meeting either your own expectations or theirs. And so that they'll kind of give you those lists. And it's just important to know you're not going to get their approval. And if you go into it that mindset, I think it positions you in a place where you're like, hey, I'm not asking for approval. What I'm saying is, you're going to support me. You're going to be my friend, blah, blah, blah. You're going to support me. So just a great dialogue on starting that posture. We need to have strong posture if we're going to share our beliefs. We're going to share maybe about a goal or a dream or a business or one of those things. You got to have a strong posture to do that. Not an off-putting posture. Obviously, all this within a context of balance. You can have a strong off-putting posture, just like with the taker. You can't have a combative stance, like that's too much, but you definitely can have a, hey, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, and I'm excited about it. So something you always put in your head is treat it like you're going to go on vacation somewhere, and like, hey, I'm going to go to the beach, and then they say, well, you don't even like the ocean. And you're like, no, but I love the ocean, and I love the restaurant right next to the ocean, and that's why I'm going. So you're like, it kind of gives you a context of not getting into combative, but reminding them, hey, I make the decisions. That's where I'm going. So that's cool. Love it. Next one was affirmation versus execution. Now, see, I really enjoyed this. Ever wonder why your belief isn't stronger after you tell somebody about your idea? And that really is, it's powerful. When we go in saying, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Well, yeah, I kind of. Well, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about this. Our posture, it's funny, both of these are about posture. Our posture dips. And when we have a strong posture, we're able to say, hey, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be starting this online business. I'd love your support. I'd love it if you supported me by being there. You have these stronger statements that are wrapped around kind of an execution that you now are accountable for. So that's the best thing about long form versus the shorts. The shorts, you just like almost puke up a whole bunch of information. You don't get to really dive into it. We want to set expectations for ourselves. That's part of building commitment. That's part of building momentum. That's about a lot of the stuff we talked this week. But one of the things that when we say use these execution statements, we tell them what we're doing, we remind ourselves what we committed to, and then we build an accountability into that situation. And that's really important for the long haul. Like anywhere I can build accountability into something, I'm going to do it. Hey, I'm going to be doing this on August 1st. Yeah, this thing's coming up on August 1st. I'm going to do this. And so I started sewing in everywhere I could. August 1st, I'm doing this. I get into a meeting on Monday. I'm like, hey, I got this plan to do these videos this week. And I'm just placing execution statements into my thinking so that I'm in motion. I can't wait. To me, that like kicks it off. So anywhere you can do that and not ask for affirmation, your posture is going to go up, and people are going to read your posture more than your business plan or any of those other things. They're going to read your posture. So, another example is, I'm doing this business because, I've had a hard time or some stuff has changed. That's great. But an execution statement of, this is my best opportunity to overcome these hurdles. And by you participating with me in this, you're helping me overcome these hurdles. And I appreciate you getting behind me and letting me do the work to get past this. And so you just kind of build a different framework for that conversation. And suddenly what they do is they realize how their participation is joining you. So their participation isn't removing the responsibility from you, and their participation isn't removing the work that you have to do. Their participation supports you in doing the work and the responsibility and all of those things. I think that's really important. It does change the context. And I don't know what it is in other countries, but in American culture, that really changes the dynamic. So, I've had a hard time, and the kids and the dog and, all those usual things. Oh, my girlfriend, dude, my car, dude, my girl, dude, my dog. But when you say, hey, I've had some struggles, and this is really a good opportunity for me, and I'd love to have your support. You supporting me, just being there, maybe making my live like this. Hey, just being on my YouTube live, those little steps of participation are huge to me. And I'd super appreciate if you support me. It just changes that whole dialogue. Like it's just a massive shift. And so what we do is we don't look for affirmation. And when we're not looking for affirmation, we're not looking for somebody to say, oh, yeah, it's a good idea, you should do it. And we don't give them an opportunity to say, oh, well, you probably shouldn't do that, and then give a list. Hey, we got some viewers on. If you're in the chat, live chat, I see you. Make sure you make a comment, say hello. Please say hello. Love to be able to share some more with you. If you have questions, make sure you ask. So that posture changes, and we kind of bolster ourselves up. And so every time we share, then we're actually sharing. Our posture for belief gets stronger because how we're sharing through execution. I'm doing this. I'm going to do this. Instead of saying, hey, I think I'm going to start an online store, say, hey, I'm starting an online store and I'll send you a link when I get the website done. And then you walk away going, man, I probably should get that website done. You've added accountability, but you've put yourself in motion through your words. Like now you gotta follow through. So execution statements, anywhere you can build them in, just blurt them out. You're at the grocery store, you're checking out. Hey, what are you doing this afternoon? The lady tells you, and then if she says, well, what are you doing this afternoon? You know what? I got to go home and I got to work on some website stuff. I got to get a website done. And you haven't even started it. It's a great way to just kind of insert some accountability. And we need that. We need that accountability, but we also need to hear ourselves say what we're excited about and why we're excited about it. And when we hear ourselves saying it, we start to believe it more. We start to get in on it. We're like, yeah, I do. I think that's important. You're terrified to write the website. Maybe you're terrified. Maybe you're terrified of the picture. Maybe you're terrified of putting it out there. Maybe you've done something like that before and it hasn't gone well. You don't want to hear the ridicule, all the things we talk about in the reels, right? Those are going through your head. But when you start putting it out there and you hear yourself saying it, it becomes real. And you're forced to buy into it. And that is critical. So execution statements, throw those puppies in there, grab the accountability that comes with it, and it will just ignite your movement towards your goal. Super awesome. Next one up, how you pay. This one's a tough one. Like this is like, nobody pays the bill but you. That's totally a true statement. If you don't reach your goal, you're the only one that pays the bill. And there's a truth, a finality to that we have to recognize. There's a responsibility that comes with the finality of that. There's a responsibility that comes with the finite reality that, hey, if Bob is telling me don't do this and I don't do it, Bob doesn't go to bed going, oh man, I didn't do that today. Bob goes to bed going, man, I'm glad I talked James out of that. James goes to bed going, oh, shouldn't have listened to Bob. I knew better than to share with Bob. I paid that bill. And maybe it's not a big bill, but it does go against my belief. It does come out of my belief account. I wrote that check, and now that money's gone. And I have to go build more belief the next day to cover that check. And so we want to be recognized that we pay the bill. And so I don't know what your goal is. I don't know what your dream is. I don't know what's important to you. I know it's important to you, so therefore it's important. I want you to learn from this is don't accept other people's level of expectation as your own. Set your own level of expectation for you and then meet that. And when we meet the other level of expectation, we talked about this the other week, is that sometimes people advise us based on what they would do. In other words, bad advice comes from people that only tell you to do the things that they themselves are willing to do. A lot of people will advise you that way. They don't want to do that work. Like, I want to pick up dog poop for a side gig for the summer. And they're like, I wouldn't pick up dog poop. Are you kidding me? Because they don't want to do it. But then you're like, hey, I need a new camera from my YouTube channel. Dog poop super easy. Bam, bam, bam. I could do it. And I could have that camera paid for by the end of the summer. But they advise you not to do it, not because they don't believe in your YouTube channel, but because they can't see themselves doing that work. They don't have value in that work. So that is really where you pay the bill, and you got to be careful of those things. They will rob belief. They'll rob an opportunity, like, picking up dog poop to earn a camera. Summer's over, and the opportunity's gone. And then you pay that bill. And we don't want to pay that bill. So that's a great way. That's how we talk about things in our home. That's how we share things. Don't pay that bill. No. You pay the bills on the way to accomplishing your goal. But don't let somebody else do that. All right. Next up, reinvention. I love this. We got a whole week of this. I don't know if you're following on Instagram or if you're following on YouTube through the shorts. But on Instagram, that's kind of where I drop stuff kind of simultaneously. So I'll do the reel and then I do the short. And on Instagram, I can do polls. I can't quite get the interaction on YouTube, but we did a vote this week for next week's content. So we've been doing weeks by weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4. This week is week 4. And we've just been doing daily kind of like belief tips. That's what we're going over tonight. For week 5, I'm like, I really want to do content by theme. So I did a poll and it came back 3 things. One was getting started, one was reinvention, and one was more belief tips. And so reinvention we're going to do next week. The whole week we're going to talk about reinvention. Reinventions can be a bugger. Reinventions are actually really complex because they take into account all the villains, internal and external. They really can be in a place where they power us through self-belief, and probably worse yet, more complicated self-value and those things. And so we just kicked it off with one thing you can do to help with reinvention. Just a quick tip is pretending to talk in the mirror to your future customers morning and night. And so what this exercise is doing is it's helping you articulate to your new customers, your future customers. So let's say I want to sell grills outdoor. When I start talking to my grill customers in the mirror morning and night, I start to kind of I put that coat on of the grill guy, and I love grilling. I love being outside. I actually really do. I'm always outside. I love grilling. Okay. I start talking to those customers and I start solving their problems. And I start going, well, Bob's got an old grill. He needs a new grill, and here's the features. I'm starting to put that articulation in motion. What I'm doing, and Chalene Johnson talks about it as putting on the dress. A lot of people talked about reinvention in many different ways. I like hers with putting on the dress because I think you're clothing yourself in this new invention of yourself, and you're kind of wearing it around. I like the wearing it around because it's action based. So I've just stuck with that in my articulation. I didn't make that up. I'm sure she didn't make it up either, but she uses it all the time. It's excellent. Put the dress on, you wear it. You go out in public and people see you. And I think before you can do that, it really helps to do this where you start talking to your customers. You start envisioning your customers. Well, Bob, he's been grilling his whole life. And then you got another client that's Tom. He's never grilled in his life. He's terrified of grilling. He doesn't want to mess it up. He doesn't really do stuff outside. He's not super handy. But this type of grill is for that guy. And then these recipes, I've cooked these like a dozen times. You can do ham super easy. So I'm getting excited. So not only am I articulating to myself what I want to do, I'm starting to get excited about what I'm going to do. And then I start to think about Bob getting excited too. And that kind of kicks off, I think, the beginning of reinvention. Because there's a lot of villains in between believing that you put the dress on and feeling comfortable. There's a lot of villains in there, internal and external. But the more I say it, the more I hear me say it. It's one thing to have somebody else say, hey, you should sell grills. You're like, oh, yeah, okay. I don't know. I really don't cook that well. I don't really have that many recipes. I haven't even made my own sauces. Probably should have my own rubs. Probably should have my own name brand grill. Oh, I don't have anywhere to do it outside. My patio isn't the best place. I don't have a camera. I don't know who I'd talk to. I live in a small town. Like, you can kick off all those things in your head, all these hurdles. But when I'm talking to my customers, it kind of blasts me past those hurdles. And it's just something that really, really helps me is to start talking to those customers. I get excited. So half an hour before I started doing the live tonight, what do you think I was doing? I was talking to you. I was having a conversation with you. I was looking forward to you being here. I got some anticipation in my voice. I got some energy like, hey, so-and-so is going to be there. I've been talking to so-and-so in the mirror for 2 weeks. Tonight's super important for them to be there. That reel is perfect for them. And I got excited. I got anticipation in my voice. And then when you go to share your excitement with somebody or share your business or share whatever it is, people can hear that anticipation, that excitement in your voice. And it's attractive to them. And you're going to go further in your reinvention that way than doing it drudgingly. It's kind of an active way of doing it. So enough about reinvention. Next up is small steps. I posted on Instagram today. I'm like, small steps, people that use the idea of being all in some ways is sometimes, I think, miscommunicated, but can come across, it's kind of cruel in some ways if it's not talked about in its entirety. So what does that mean? When I say small steps, I mean intentional steps that are consistent doing the work. I'm not saying small steps and not get anything done. I'm saying small steps and get a lot done. All in doesn't always work because it doesn't always fit life. And so we want to be consistent. We want to recognize that we have to work around life, but we also need to get a lot done. And small steps is a great way to do that. So, you kind of get excited to do something and then you get terrified, right? Everyone does that. Everyone gets excited to do something and then they look down and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm over the top of a canyon, and they get paralyzed. But when you have small steps, you kind of just work your way out to the edge and you don't even notice. Just a little step, a little step, a little step. Then you don't bite off more than you can chew. And when you bite off more than you can chew, life's probably out of balance somewhere, right? You've either taken on too much work or set your goal too high. You don't have time to get it done. And if you're a perfectionist like me, then you're unhappy with the work. You're not happy with this. Then everything is a train wreck. But when you have small steps, you can kind of blast through a little bit and then you get a breather. You can walk away. Walking away from something is really great. It's really great to walk away from something because you come back to it fresh. But when you make a big giant goal and it just has to be all consuming, oh my goodness, you can get so overwhelmed and then you're just sick of it. But small steps, you come in fresh. You get more done, but you don't get exhausted with it. You get tired because it's a lot of work, but that's totally different than being exhausted with it. So embrace that. Embrace small actionable steps. What would that look like? Let's talk about some small actionable steps because I think that's important. You want to start an online business? You want to start a YouTube channel? You want to sell products from your home? Maybe you want to go to school in the evening. That would be a great example of kind of like a side deal. What else? The list is endless. Small step would be what? How about getting your face on your social profile? How about updating your profile? And then the next step is I probably should figure out what I'm going to put in my bio. That's a good next step. Kind of start articulating that, kind of like talking to your customers. It's a big deal. Another actionable step would be maybe getting that selfie portrait updated in an app. So it kind of looks updated. It's got some updated colors. And then maybe the next step is back to that bio. And then maybe the next step is going, okay, Facebook's updated, Instagram's updated, YouTube's updated. What's my next step? Content. What would be something I'd talk to? Those little actionable steps within 3 or 4 days, you're doing whatever you need to do. Like you can't do all those little steps and not be actionable in your business within 2 or 3 days, really. And there's just not that much left to do. You either got an Instagram with an upgraded bio that you need to start posting on, or you don't. So actionable steps are intentional and they will quickly get you into action. They are not an excuse to not be actionable, but they also avoid, I think, in a lot of ways, the bad training of being all in, because I look at it like buckets. If I'm all in on this bucket, that means I got some other life buckets that are empty. And we don't want to leave life bucket empty because then really valuable things get missed. I think that's a dysfunctional way to look at it. We can be all in other words, committed, like we've talked about in all these other things tonight. We can be all in, but making small, quick, actionable steps and getting a lot of momentum. So break down your goal and then start looking at what some actionable steps are. Join an accountability group. Do those types of things. Get caught up on Facebook. You can get lost in social media. And I'm going to leave you with this last thing on small steps. A small step is turning every single notification on every single app you have off. You want to free up your mind? turn all those notifications off. I don't think I've gotten a text notification in like 5 years. I turn text notifications off. There's not a single app on my phone that I get the little red dot. Apple does not control my day. Text messages do not control my day. I control what I'm thinking about. I control what I'm doing. And more importantly, I control when I give time and energy to stuff. Group text, all that stuff. I text back when the time is right and I have my full attention on something. When I split my attention 10 different ways, I'm defeated. And so for me, small steps, turn those notifications off. Turn the Facebook notifications off on your phone. Don't only look at Facebook, only look at your phone. Don't go to the computer where you have all the notifications on. I stay in a controlled environment so I can get little actionable steps done. That's a big one. I think we should probably talk about that next week. Controlling distractions. That's for Jacob next week. All right, next up, and our last one, scared versus fearful. Wait. I was super excited about this. The end of small steps. I love the tagline. Confusion confiscates the prize. I got to talk about this. When you have small actionable steps, others can see what you're doing. When you have these big, huge, we're going to talk about this later. When you have these big, huge steps, it gets confusing to other people. It's overwhelming to other people. So, our background, a lot of our background in business for Karen and I, my wife, is network marketing. So in that context, that's what I'm going to talk about for this as an example, because I have experienced this a lot. When somebody sets this giant goal, you can feel the energy in the room go, because it's overwhelming. And when it's overwhelming, people don't know how to help you. And they kind of do, but when the goal is so big, they don't see themselves as actually participating. They don't see the time, the energy that they sacrifice to supporting you and helping you as an actual advantage, because they don't see that getting as a part of the big picture. It's so small. So, for example, let's say I wanted to clean all of the trash off of the side of a highway. And immediately I go, we can do all of I-80. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? But if I go, hey, we're going to start a highway cleanup program and we're going to clean up I-80. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but I know there's enough people in the small town, in the small community that I live in, Nebraska, that I think people would definitely adopt a mile. Well, now they're active and in on helping you clean that mile, and they see how that mile adds up to going across the county, to going across halfway across state, to going across the whole state, to working away coast to coast. That's a big deal. And we do the same thing. We do it unintentionally because I think a lot of times people are just sincerely wrong on this. They think a big goal is somehow going to make it sound more enticing. I think they pick a giant goal because they think it's going to motivate them. Like, okay, if it's a big goal, then I'll have to do it. I think that's a poor training type thing. It's a misunderstanding a little bit. There are times that you do that. Eric Worre has a whole program, 20 and 30. It's disrupt life, do a massive amount of work, and then it tapers off. That's fine on an occasion, but it's a whole nother animal than the average person. The average person's got to go to work. The average person has 2 jobs, has kids, has all those things. And when you're communicating your goal, the smaller it is, the more immediate people feel like their action participates. They want to help you today. And so when your goal is super big, they don't really see how their work helps you today. And then they kind of get disengaged and they lose their energy. But when they're actionable today, hey, I'm launching my website today. I love some feedback. Would you mind checking out this? My links to this product. Oh, I can jump on your website and I can check that link. It's like 30 seconds and they're in or out. And they see how they've helped you do that task. And so I know I'm going back to small steps, but there's a lot to them. Confusion confiscates the prize. It robs the prize. It robs the goal. it confuses, it cloudies people's idea of how to participate, and you lose. Small steps are actionable. Small steps are communicatable. Small steps are joinable. Small steps are exciting. You need excitement. And small steps win every time. Every time. Small steps. Remember that. All right, next. Last one. Scared versus fearful. This is my favorite one of the week. I think I'm going to start a kind bucket. I think a lot of the things we talk about, one of the criteria for a reel and criteria for the things we talk about is that it has to be kind. Is that a kind thing to teach somebody? Is that a kind thing to share with somebody? And scared versus fearful, I think wonderfully meets that criteria of kind. I think that it is kind to think about scared versus fearful this way. I want you at the Belief Hero to go, I am encouraged that I can do scary things. But small steps, avoiding my belief villains, having actionable steps, using execution-based communication, I can tackle a scary thing, and I can tackle scary things every day and not be fearful. I think that is a wonderful way for you to live. I think that is a wonderful way for you to go tackle a goal, tackle an objective, overcome a hurdle in your life, a setback, a loss, whatever it might be. I think attacking it with an idea of, yeah, this is scary, but I am not going to be fearful is everything the Belief Hero is about. That is what Belief Heroes are about. That is what becoming a Belief Hero is all about for you in your own life. That is what slaying belief villains is all about. It is slaying the fearful thinking. And it's easy to get sucked into that. It is easy to get into moments where we overwhelm ourselves, probably with big objectives. I was going to say objectives, goals, too big of steps. We become overwhelmed. And then what happens? We become fearful of all the stuff, the confusion, the chaos, all the noise that is in our world because of our silly phones put us in a place where it's easy to get fearful. Belief villains, external ones, takers, watchers, all can put us in a place of being fearful. But when we reframe that and say, I'm not fearful, I'm just scared of it, I think it changes the game. I think it says, okay, I'm not afraid of it. It is scary, yeah, but I can do it. And if I can leave you with anything this week, is put as many things as you can in that's big and scary bucket. Put it in the big and scary bucket. Take it out of the fear bucket, put it in the big and scary bucket. It is fine to have an entire bucket full of big and scary because everything that's in your big and scary bucket, you can conquer. You can overcome. Those are hurdles. Those are not walls. Fear is a wall. Fear is like we've got a detour. We've got to go around it. We can't go there. When you put things in this is big and scary bucket, you can beat it. It's everything we're doing here is that you can beat the big and scary bucket. And you can do it every day. Believe it or not, you can do it every day. But if it is in the fearful bucket, your posture drops, you go back to affirmation statements, you go back to believing all your belief villains, and you go back to non-actionable steps. Then you're back into I've got to have a big objective. I've got to overcome this wall. I got to go over it. But when it's just big and scary, you're just like, okay, just big and scary. Got my little flashlight. It's scary, but I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. And you are fine. You're absolutely fine. So this week, I just make some goals for this week. Simple goals. Update profiles. I don't know. If you got something, put it in the chat and we'll talk about it really quick before we go because we've got to be done here in a minute. You can overcome those things. You can overcome scary things. You can do scary things all day long. Okay? You can conquer them every single day. But fearful, don't live fearful. Don't live fearful. You got too much worthwhile stuff to give to live fearful. Straight up. You got too much to offer. There is somebody out there. There are too many people out there. I'm going to put pressure on you. There are too many people out there that need to hear your story, your articulation from your experience and your life. They need to hear it from you more than they needed to hear it from me. And those people need you to put all those things in the big and scary bucket and take them out of the fearful bucket. I need you to break that wall down so that you can start small actionable steps. Absolutely. Absolutely believe that. I believe there are thousands of people that you are better suited to reach and encourage and all those things than I am. And they need you to do it more than they need me to do it. Straight up. So I don't know what's in your bucket. I don't know what's in your fear bucket. Start writing it down. Start writing it down. Say, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. And then start putting them in the scary bucket. This is kind of scary. Man, you hear the solution in your head. Just when I say it right now, you go, oh, I'm afraid of this. But when I say, this is scary. So going live with my face on Instagram, I'm really afraid to have my face on Instagram. It's really scary to go live. Suddenly I hear a solution. Like in my ear, I'm like waiting for a solution. But like that's what you're looking for. You're waiting English language. You're waiting for the but. It's really scary to go on live on Instagram. But I got to do it to reach my goal. Oh, you can do that. One thing this week. Maybe you live fearful all the time. Been there, done that. Totally get it. I do it all the time. Take one thing out of that fearful bucket this week and stick it over in the scary bucket. Just one small thing. I pick on the social media profiles because I always feel like they're like the hardest thing to do. Once you do your profile, it's out there and it's like, okay, now I just got to do it. I pick on that. I'm not a broken record. That just seems to be like in my mind the biggest hurdles, like just getting that stinking thing updated. Do I do the emojis? Do I not do the emojis? Do I do the description? Do I do the fake description? Do I do like Worry says, am I super indirect? Am I direct? I am selling hammocks and I want you to buy one. Or I say, come join my I love the shade group. And then I'm like super passive. Like all those things change all the time. That's why I'm terrified of social profiles, because I never feel like I'm up to date on how to do them. That's why I'm picking on them. But take it out of the fearful bucket. Maybe it's getting your team together. Maybe you have a team. Maybe you've been a fearful leader with your team and it's time to like step that posture up and go, okay, I'm ready to be really serious. I'm going to change my posture with my team. Oh man, that is a rough reinvention. That's going to take some serious posture change. That's going to be tough. You've got a lot of things in the fear bucket. Pick one. Maybe it's adding a theme to your call. That would be a huge thing. What are we talking about? Well, normally we just get in here and we chat. Nope, today we're talking about this. Take charge of that. Maybe it's finances. Finances can be a fearful thing. Man, it's kids, it's family. There are a lot of things that aren't just business. I just tend to talk about business more. There are a lot of things that you can be working on in the scary buckets that don't need to be in the fearful bucket. So I'm going to leave you with that. Take it out of the fear bucket, put it in the scary bucket, and then come over to Instagram and like tell us what you did. Or put it in the chat later on when you're watching this. Hey, Hatcher, I took this out of the fearful bucket and I put it in the scary bucket. That'd be awesome. I'd love to hear that story. With that, I think that wraps up our week 4. Right on time. Week 4 recap. Week 5, we're going to themes. Did something crazy. So I started the whole YouTube and Instagram thing. Thought I was crazy doing 2 reels, 2 shorts a day. Thought it was crazy to do 1 Be Bold hour that we just finished up a week. And then I did this poll on Instagram, and it was a 3-way tie, and I made the announcement today. I know, I just took my own advice. It's terrible. I said accountability. I said, I'm just going to do the 12 reels and the Be Bold hour for each of the 3 topics this week. So I got 14 reels for getting started on your goal. I got 14 reels for reinvention and 14 reels on continuing the belief tips that we've been doing so far that we started with. And then a live hour for each one of those next week, which I'm excited about. I'm excited about the themes. So if you're watching this is the last weekly recap like we're doing by the week 3, week 4. They will be themed based. So at the end of the reinvention coaching, then we'll have a reinvention recap, and that'll all be in a playlist. And the idea really is that you'll be able to find the information. I think there's it's a massive void in the world, the digital world, like how do you find stuff? So I want you to be able to find stuff. I want you to go, hey, that reel or that thing that talked to me. Because a lot of times we hear stuff and it takes a long time for our brain to go, okay, I'm in. I'll give it a whirl. I'll give it a whirl. Okay. I'm tired of looking at Hatcher's reels. I'm just going to do this thing so I can move on. Right. And that's totally cool. But then where do you go to find it? And I think by week, so the Instagram keeps a better chronological order of posts more than the shorts. The shorts show up by views and they have a weird algorithm for that. They don't allow me to organize that information. Instagram allows me to organize in order. So it was cool. You got week 4 and I would tell you everything we're going to talk about, which we did. And now we're at the recap. Okay. Week 5, it's all going to be by themes. So when you are on Instagram, if you're coming over to YouTube, you're going to look for playlists. And then you're going to see the playlist on reinvention. You're going to see the playlist on starting with small steps towards your goal. You're going to see the playlist for quick belief tips for next week. So I'm excited about that. I'm so over the daily be bold minutes, hearing my voice say that. So we're going to change that up. But I'm excited. So with that, fearful. Don't forget your fearful bucket. Fearful bucket. Put it in the scary bucket. Get that done. Get that done. It's not that bad, I promise. It'll be amazing. You'll be so proud of yourself. I'll be proud of you. You'll be proud of you. Everyone will be proud of you. So get that done. Get your fearful bucket. Empty that bad boy. And then you can use it for joy. Right? Empty your fearful bucket, and then you can fill it up with joy and excitement. You can fill that whole nasty fearful bucket with anything you want. You don't have to keep fear in there. You can reuse it. Cycle up. That's what I'm talking about. Use that fearful bucket for joy, sharing joy. Just take a bucket of joy and excitement and enthusiasm to somebody else. That'd be amazing. Amazing use of that bucket. Yeah, think about how much better it'd smell anyway, right? All right, with that, we don't have an exit screen, but that's it. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Shorts. Thanks again for everyone's support. 15 new subscribers on the YouTube channel. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you're at, but thank you. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being on the lives. Thanks for checking out the content. When I started the Belief Hero, I just had to say, I just believe in it. I believe in the content. I believe in what I'm going to say. I think it's kind. I think it's helpful. And if nothing else, at the end of each week, I've spoken kindness into people's lives, helpful things that are kind, that help them move faster towards the goal. And so those of you that subscribed on Instagram and on the YouTube, thanks. It's a big deal. All we do at the end of this thing is all we did is spread kindness. That's a great thing. What a worthy way to spend our time together, being kind, being helpful. Absolutely awesome. So, thank you. Should have said that at the beginning, but I didn't. Thank you for the subscribes. Thank you for being a part of what we're doing. Thanks for watching. And looking forward to conversations in the Discord eventually as people get over there. That's going to be a blast. That is available. It's up. If you want to have daily conversations, we're doing that in Discord. So we'll see you over there. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Now the intro video as our outro video. Nothing like one step at a time. Small steps.